There are times when a light in the dark is not a good thing. Hello everyone, I'm Father Aaron. Welcome to The Dungeon Minister! You may notice a slight change in the lighting scheme here. Now that I have some patrons on Patreon, there's a link below in case you're interested. Anyway, now that I have some patrons, I am able to spruce things up a little bit around here. Don't worry, I am addressing the sound issue as well. It's in progress, okay?
What issue? Yeah, what issue?
It's in progress. Technical issues aside, we left our heroes camping north of the Coille Dhìomhair, the secret forest, known locally as the Snare Wood. They were camping just off the road, sensing perhaps that they were not safe. Indeed, they aren't. They never are. Part of the danger comes from the village of Babblebrook, where the characters had stayed a few nights previous. And the reason that it's not safe for them is they left it awash in blood. The reeve killed, his body hidden under some crates. Now, they didn't kill the reeve. They did kill the reeve's captain of the guards, who was one of the reeve's hired thugs. And, of course, the reeve who hired those thugs was not the reeve, it was a doppelganger. But nobody in the town knows this story. All they know is that these strangers showed up twice. The first time, trying to sell onions, which is weird. The second time, apparently there to kill the reeve, stuff his body in the alleyway, and then run off into the forest. It doesn't look good. And so they are wanted criminals. Wanted by the villagers, but hunted also by the Baron's men. The Baron, who lives down in Coille, has sent soldiers north to find these people who have disrupted the peace. He also probably understands that they were sent by the Count of Kilmarnock. He probably senses that there's more to this. At any rate, the characters don't know these things, but they intuit them. They figure that this has got to be a dicey time for them. So they've decided to camp away from the road where they can keep an eye on it, but they will hopefully not be seen. It is early in the night. Fleetwood is on the watch, sitting at a very, very small campfire, which they have built to the opposite side of some boulders, just to keep it somewhat screened from the road. He's sitting at that fire, warming his hands and scanning the road when he sees points of light approaching. Just points of light in the far, far distance, but he can recognize the way they're moving. They appear to be lanterns or torches of some kind. As they get closer, he can tell they are indeed lanterns, one of which is high off the ground. So he figures it's probably being carried either on a pole of some kind or by someone on horseback. In fact, it is both, a horseback rider with a lantern up on a pole. The other two lanterns are coming behind some distance, and every once in a while one of them winks in and out, out and in, indicating that there is someone between that lantern and Fleetwood's position. As they draw closer, they come into infravision range, and Fleetwood can detect that indeed, leading the party is a humanoid on horseback. It's very clearly apparent. And there are two other people walking behind. Their heat signature, their image shows up in infravision. But then there's images that he can't quite read. They don't seem to have a temperature. When I tell this to my eldest, he immediately says, "Undead. Undead! Wake up, everyone! Wake up! Be quiet, but wake up!" They all awake and watch. Bob, Johnny, and Fleetwood have infravision because they're elves, and Touchberry has the cat's eye marble, which, as long as he keeps it on his person, allows him to see with infravision as well. So those three know what's happening. Fire is, what do you see? What's going on? She can see the points of light, but she can't make out the figures other than the occasional glimpse as they draw closer. The flashes of arms and legs moving in the lamplight. There are figures shambling along the road between the two lantern bearers. Is it 6, 8? It's hard to say how many precisely, but they are shambling, barely in control, and every once in a while it appears that the lantern bearers go and poke them with sticks or push them with sticks to keep them going straight on the road. There's a whispered conversation among the characters. Let's just let them pass. We don't want anything to do with this. Okay, yeah, we're not doing anything. We're just going to keep hunkered down. And that's what they're doing as they watch the figures silently pass on the road. But just as it looks like they're going to keep going, some of the shambling figures stop and turn in their direction.
Boss! The dogs are onto something.
One of the lantern bearers has said this. The dogs are onto something. The man on the horse stops and wheels around. The other shambling figures all lurch to a halt. The man on the horse examines. He looks carefully and says, "Go, check it out." So 3 of these shambling figures, half of them, there does turn out to be 6, 3 of them begin shambling through the snow and the long grass toward our heroes, accompanied by one of the lantern bearers and the man on the horse walking slowly, a little bit behind and to the right. They approach. As they get closer, I say, now you can make them out. They appear to be human, maybe, but their flesh looks gray and pallid. There are places where it seems to be rotting. They stumble as if they don't really see, but their faces are keen. They look hungry as they press forward. They are zombies. Okay, zombies are cool because they're kind of an easy undead to fight. It's not like the wight who could drain a level of your experience, right? It's not like any of the more serious undead, but they're stronger than skeletons. So they're better than skeletons, and it's not like the ghoul either. The ghoul can paralyze everyone except elves. So whenever ghouls attack my group, they just send the elves to the front and they're done with it, right? So here come some zombies. The foul things get within 50 or 60 feet and they stop, and the lantern bearer begins to shout, "There's someone here! I see they got a fire!" They had extinguished the fire earlier, but there's still a trail of smoke and glowing embers. "There's a fire! There's someone up here, boss!" The boss, the man on the horse, calls for the rest of the group to join, and they begin shambling across the field as well, in the wake of the others. Once they have come abreast, they continue forward all together, spreading out to encompass and surround the heroes. Well, the heroes are having none of this. They jump up, and one after another, Fleetwood and then Bob Johnny cast Web. And this is where I discover just how powerful Web is, and I begin to regret giving it to both of the elves. Because with those 2 spells, they are able to ensnare 4 out of 6 zombies. The zombies are approaching in 2 groups of 3, and each web hits 2 of them and partially ensnares a third. It's the spread of 10 feet. They're kind of clustered together. They've been walking together. So it is able to capture 4 of them totally snared. They're out of it for the rest of this battle, unless someone cuts them out, which of course is a possibility. The other 2, who are partially snared, will be able to escape within 1 round. I decide there's not quite enough web covering them to really hold them, just a few stray strands of webbing, so they'll be able to tear out of it in 1 round. But that has severely cut down the number of zombies they have to deal with. Meanwhile, the lantern bearers have pulled weapons and they are attacking. One of them, Hod, the men are talking to each other as they approach, so they've gotten their names. Hod is a big guy. He has a spear and he comes charging forward around on, the player's right side, and he slams into Touchberry. Touchberry comes up to meet him. Battle on, roll initiative. Meanwhile, the other lantern bearer, Usta, a thin, rangy guy, has pulled out a bow and he begins to fire. And the man on the horse, Tyron, is charging, charging straight at first Fleetwood, and then his charge will carry him past to Foefire, who is at the back with her own bow. Battle on. Tyron has stabbed his lantern into the ground and drawn a sword as he charged, and he misses Fleetwood. Fleetwood rolls out of the way of both the horse and the sword, but the charge carries him past to Foefire, whom he hits, and she is wounded badly. I think he rolls pretty well. He rolls like a 7, plus he has a strength bonus, so he does 9 points of damage to her in the first attack. His charge carries him back around, and he's going to make another pass. Meanwhile, Touchberry and Hod miss each other completely. They just both swing and miss, stab and miss. It's just a miss fest. Foefire, before she was hit, did get a shot off to try to kill one of the zombies who was ripping itself free. Didn't kill it, hit it, but didn't kill it. Bob Johnny, as Tyron passed by, took a swing with his axe but missed. As the big man went charging by on the horse, he missed with his axe. This combat gets messy, and this is one of the times I'm really glad we're using miniatures. Although I don't have any mounted fighters. I don't have any miniatures on horseback. We do have some toy horses from the toy box, and so that's what we use. Meanwhile, the zombies are being represented by some unpainted orcs, because that's what I have. Anyhow, the two zombies at the end of this round have torn themselves free, and they begin to move in to attack. One of them engages Bob Johnny. The other one begins heading over for Touchberry. It's just the way the battlefield is laid out. That's his closest target. Touchberry is still engaged with Hod. Now, they eventually do connect. Touchberry gets hit for a few points. It wasn't anything serious. Touchberry lands a very hard hit on Hod, and I roll for morale. But he keeps fighting. He's going to stick in there. Meanwhile, Tyron, having passed by Foefire, makes an arc of it and comes back to hit Touchberry from behind. Boom! It is a serious hit. He slices into the little halfling as he passes by. He must have to lean pretty far off the horse to do that, but he gets him, and Touchberry takes a decent number of hit points. He's got plenty, though, so he's not in any real danger yet. But he's been hit pretty hard. Tyron, again, he's charging past, almost runs over his own zombie as he goes, the zombie that's coming to attack Touchberry. Meanwhile, Fleetwood is attacking the zombie who has gotten free. He is attacking that zombie, while Bob Johnny decides he's going to try to attack the zombies who are still caught up in the web. The other players are telling him not to, just leave them, they're fine. But Usta has thrown his bow down and pulled out a dagger and is now attempting to cut the zombies free. So maybe it's a good idea, well, actually it would be a good idea to attack Usta, not the zombies, but at any rate, attack somebody. Foefire, meanwhile, decides to focus on Tyron. She's going to try to bring him down, but unfortunately misses 3 times. Arrows are going everywhere except into this horseman. So he keeps managing passes, and he keeps slamming into the characters. Fleetwood, every time he comes around, Fleetwood has decided he's going to watch for his passage, and he's going to attack him when he can. And he hits him once or twice, but the guy has free rein. He's going around the battlefield, just charging back and forth on that horse, and my players are really wishing they had their horses at this point, but this guy's charging back and forth with freedom of movement over the battlefield. Finally, Touchberry cuts down Hod just as the zombie reaches him. It's about 3 rounds of combat because zombies are shambling, shuffling, slow pokes, and he's still been some distance off. By the time he gets there, Hod is down and Touchberry is able to turn just in time to get hit by the zombie. Ouch. Now Touchberry is getting down there. Foefire has been hit a number of times by Tyron as he passes by, and Usta has cut free 2 of the zombies, picked his bow back up, and shot Foefire as well. Finally, Foefire answers that arrow shot and hits Usta, who I roll initiative for, and he immediately gives up. Usta does not have a high morale. He boots it. He's out of there. He runs away. Tyron is at that point caught up in battle with Bob Johnny because he happened to be passing by. Bob Johnny took a swing at him with the axe, hit him, and so now Tyron is hurting, And he's caught in combat between Fleetwood and Bob Johnny, and he can no longer charge through. They've caught him kind of in between a rock and a hard place, I guess. They've caught him, and they're hammering away at him. So he's stuck, and he's hollering for his zombies to help him, but the zombies are being cut down because now Touchberry has killed the one that came at him, right? And Fofire is starting to fill the others with arrows, and they're really easy to hit, so she's filling those ones with arrows. It's at this moment that Bob Johnny suddenly remembers he has a ring of animal control. This is a recurring theme for Bob Johnny, forgetting that he has this ring. I mean, the player is 7, so it's probably not surprising. So he keeps forgetting that he has the thing, but somewhere in the middle of combat, either one of his brothers or his mama will remind him, or he'll think of it. This time, he's the one who remembers, and suddenly, Bob Johnny lowers the axe, raises his fist with a ring on it, and commands the horse to run. Just get out of here. He doesn't even use the horse as a weapon. I mean, you might think, have the horse charge down some of the zombies. But he doesn't. He just tells it to go. And go it does. Tyron is yanked out of battle, screaming and hollering and angry as a wet cat, charging across the fields, back toward the road, back in the way that they had come from. As he goes, realizing that his horse is out of control, he begins calling the zombies to him. Come, follow me! Because he doesn't want them out there getting slaughtered. They're useful tools he wants them with. There were 3 still standing, and they immediately turn obedient and begin to follow. Of course, Usta is already running. Because Tyron is on a horse, he overtakes him, and they disappear into the dark together. The characters initially think they're going to chase them, and then decide not to. They don't know what else is out there. They don't know how strong those zombies still are. They don't know how strong Tyron still is. They know they've hit him, but he seemed to be still, fighting and alive and kicking. So, maybe not. Maybe not so much. Now, a quick conference. What are we going to do? We can't stay here. Somebody knows where we are. He's going to come back. Maybe he has more zombies. Maybe he has more soldiers. Maybe he's got, I don't know what. But he knows where we are. And he's gonna come back for us. Whether he would have or not, I don't know, I would have rolled dice for it, but they decided to boot it anyway. So, in the middle of the night, without proper rest, mind you, they take off. This means there will be no spell recovery for them, and they decide to run in the opposite direction that they saw Tyron and the others take off. They had headed off to the northeast. The players head to the west, knowing that as they go, they're getting closer to Babblebrook. This could be a problem. They head off into the dark. They follow the road for a while because it's easier at night to just follow the road. And they know that if they're going to come across anyone, they will probably be carrying lanterns, torches, or something, so they'll be able to see them. They head down the road for a while and then peel off to the north this time. And again, find themselves a ways from the road before they bed down. They get a little bit of sleep, not a lot. I don't count this for a full hit point recovery, so they're not going to be boosted back up. They do a quick bivouac and wake up the next morning. This, again, is not enough rest for the spellcasters to recover spells. So we don't have web, we don't have magic missile, all right? The other things, I think they took knock and wizard lock and charm person and sleep, I believe, were the other ones. At any rate, they quickly eat a meal and decide that they need to keep going north. They need to head north as quickly as they can. They don't know where the boundary between the barony and the county are, but they need to reach some friendly land as quickly as they can. So they begin heading north. It's not long. They're still within sight of the road. Distant sight, but sight of the road, when they see a troop of horsemen riding along at a brisk pace. It looks like about 8 of them. We're pushing the toy box to its limits at this point, and I have to admit some of the horses were actually camels, and I think there was a dingo in there as well. Anyway, They see a troop of horsemen coming on the road, and they know it's trouble. Those horsemen have spotted them, and they begin picking their way across the field. They are being hunted. They are in hot pursuit. Hot pursuit. So the Duke boys, the heroes of Honeywood, boot it as fast as they can. They're just trying to reach something, some marker which will tell the pursuers, no, you can't go here. These are the Count's lands. But they don't find anything. And frankly, even if they did, the Count's men aren't around. So who cares, right? Now, this encounter with these horsemen was a random roll. It was a wandering monster, essentially. And I decided that anytime I got a wandering monster, it would be troops. And that there would be a 60-40 chance that those troops would be the barons. 40% chance they would be the Counts, having come down into the barons' lands looking for their emissaries, looking for the Count's messengers. So there was a chance that they could have been a rescue rather than pursuit, but it ended up in pursuit. And they boot it and they run off into the grasslands, but there's just nothing around. I mean, it's just miles and miles and miles of open grassland. So they're seen, they're pursued, and their pursuers are on horseback. They eventually catch up. 4 horsemen... Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. 4 horsemen approach them initially. Roll for initiative. Combat ensues. This goes much better for the players, and as the next 4 are catching up, 2 of the horsemen have been incapacitated. Not killed, I hasten to add. They don't actually decide to kill them. They dehorse them, and they hold them captive. They put sword to throat kind of thing. One of the ones they've gotten captive happens to be the commander of this little troop. And so, as the others approach, the captain is able to shout out, "Stop, stop, stop!" And they do. So there is a negotiation. Attack us, and we kill him. Leave, we'll let him go. Once we see that you're far enough away, we'll let him go. Okay, whispered conversation among the soldiers. What are they going to do? They don't like to, surrender or retreat. That's not in their code, but there's their captain. Where they're going to get in more trouble for letting him die or more trouble for letting these people get away. Eventually, I roll for it based on morale, and they just miss it. So they decide they're going to back off. With snarls and threats, "We're going to get you. The Baron wants you. You're wanted men. Elves. And a halfling. And a woman. You're wanted, So with that and many other snarls and insults, they turn and they back off. Once they're a ways away, it's Fleetwood who has a dagger to this captain's throat. Takes the dagger off, says, "Get back on your horse and get out of here." The man remounts, and he turns to them and says, "We know you came from the Count. He will be held responsible." Turns his horse. Off he goes. Oh dear. Oh dear. We were supposed to be subtle, weren't we? Ugh. Oops.